Wow, I'm gonna pull the tarp down out of the rafters with that strike. You gotta be kidding me. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game. Today I'm talking about the pause at the top. Should you pause at the top of your backswing, or should it all be one fluid motion without stop where you just change direction naturally? That's a great question. And in my experience, what I've been finding recently with trying to implement this into my swing and going back and forth, experimenting both different ways, I've put in a few weeks on this now, and I find that a good rhythm and a good tempo and good timing, of course, we all know that that helps your golf swing, and it can cover up a lot of swing flaws and faults. But in trying to put a pause actively into your swing to delineate between backswing and then downswing, in trying to do that, does it cause more harm than good? I'm going to hit a few golf shots here for you, and I'm going to tell you a little bit, in case you haven't been watching, my issues and the problems that I have, just in case this is the first time you're watching one of my videos. And by the way, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome to the channel. We do a lot of different experimentation here, as well as trying to find all sorts of different ways to swing the golf club, hit the golf ball, improve, play golf, better your scores, all that stuff. So if we're talking about some of my issues, number one, a chronic issue for me is early extension. Early extension all day. If you don't know what early extension is, it's where you kind of come into the ball with your hips and you extend early. I know, it's crazy that that's what it actually means. But yeah, early extension, that's one of my big issues, and it's something that plagues a lot of golfers out there. Another thing that gives me such grief is the flip at the golf ball, meaning that when you come into the golf ball, you should still be a little bit loaded until that last second, and you should have forward shaft lean, and then the fastest point of your swing, and the extension comes out in front of you. And instead, with me, with the flip, I spend all my energy right at the golf ball, and then immediately the club starts to flip over. What this does is it adds loft, it slows down speed, it makes for poor contact a lot of times, and it also means that I'm changing the squareness of my club face. And when I combine that with the early extension, if I'm having a good day and I'm timing it out right, everything's great. If I'm not having a very good day and my timing's a little bit off, who knows where the golf ball's going to end up. So now, what can we do to change that? Well, a lot of times, the over-the-top swing, where your right shoulder gets active and you cast out and you're coming after the golf ball, and of course I'm exaggerating that motion. All the golf coaches do this. They all, I'm coming over. It's just because they're trying to exaggerate it to let you see what's really going on, because a lot of the times, like with me, my over-the-top move is kind of subtle. It's kind of subtle, and you wouldn't notice it if you didn't slow everything down and you didn't have an eye that was trained to look for it. One of the ways that you can combat that sort of over-the-top move is, well, you can just try to stop doing it. Just come back here and actually drop under, like come under the plane, maybe even with your club, getting it here and then letting it fall away and trying to guide it. For me, that gets too hands and armsy, and some people swing with their hands and arms, but in my experience, swinging with your hands and arms, it can be really inconsistent, and you really have to be having a good day to have a good ball striking day, and you can easily have a bad day and end up with poor results. So that's one way of fixing it, and I found that just doesn't work for me. Another thing you could do is to possibly try and reroute the golf club, right? So everybody's seen Jim Furyk. He takes it up really vertical and then drops it in. That's another thing. And then, of course, there's the Matthew Wolff or the Juju swing, where you take it up almost like this and then at the top change directions. That's one way to do that, but a lot of people don't have that flexibility. They don't have that athleticism. It does take a certain degree of coordination and timing and ability to do that, and also to wrap your brain around that concept, because it's so crazy for a lot of people. But if you can get that is one way to reroute the club and get that shallowing out of the golf club that everybody wants coming into the golf ball. Another thing, though, is to look at what's actually causing the issue. And for me, I can pinpoint it, and I think if you're honest with yourself, a lot of you can pinpoint the same issue as well. It's when you get to the top You can't wait to get back to the golf ball. You're hitting from the top. As soon as you get it up here, you just want to rip it, and you just want to feel powerful, and you've watched your shots with a 7-iron drop from 60 yards out, and you're like, why am I only hitting my 7-iron 60 yards? I've got to swing harder. And then you come harder over the top immediately. And it's with your shoulder overtakes. It's also casting the club. It's throwing your angles away too early. All of that stuff, man. We're all trying to hit from the top as if right here, now we're going to hit the golf ball instantly. And that's what happens. But you have to be patient. You have to be patient. And if you take the club away, there should be this rerouting and a change in direction, not only of the club to where it starts to come back and shallow out, but also a change of direction in your lower body, which would in turn lead to a change of direction with your arms, and everything sequenced properly falls into place and comes through nice. But if you're trying to hit the golf ball from the top of the swing instead of being patient and waiting on it, everything gets out of sequence, and that's what happens with me. So a great way to try and combat that is the pause at the top, in my opinion. If you take it up here and you wait just a second, you try and keep the club where it is for just a split second, your lower body and everything will begin to prepare for the delivery of the golf club. So if you take it up here and you give it that slight pause, the lower body can start to move, the club shallows out, the hands and arms drop naturally, and it gives your whole body and your club a chance to change directions and come back into the golf ball the way it's supposed to. That simple pause at the top, if you can execute it, will do all of that for you in my experience. Now, here's the problem with implementing the pause at the top. If you're like me and you've been hitting from the top with no pause whatsoever, in order to get just a slight pause, I mean a little pause, a split second in time, you're going to need to feel like you leave the club up here for a couple of years. You're going to have to exaggerate the hell out of it. You're going to have to feel like you're leaving it up here and your entire body is finished with the swing while the hands and the arms are back here. So in the beginning, you're going to have to exaggerate it. That's been my experience. I want to share my experience with you guys, show you some of the shots, and show you the difference. I'm going to hit some with no pause, and then I'm going to hit some with pause. I'll slow them down. And I'll show you the differences and the results. And I'm also going to tell you about the difference in the strike, because the strike can be so much more flush and solid when everything's sequenced properly and you have good timing. We're going to start off here with no pause. Just going regular at it. I'm not swinging too incredibly hard here. I'm just going to get it to the top and take it back with no pause. Pretty much what I've been doing for the last... What year is this? Now that contact wasn't too bad, actually. That was pretty good. I'll take that. Maybe I had really good timing right there. That contact wasn't bad. Wasn't too bad. And that contact on that third one, that was actually pretty decent. So I would say that, okay, this is starting out really bad, right? Maybe I'm having a pretty decent day with my timing and my tempo, and everything is just pretty normal. But I bet you if you slow that swing down, I'll do that right now. I bet you if you slow this swing down, you'll see that I'm coming over the top, and I'm probably got a little bit of early extension in it, and the strike was okay, but the positions, and maybe if you measure the dynamic loft and the ball speed and the club head speed and sort of the launch angle and all those things you can measure on all these fancy simulators and pieces of equipment, I bet you'd see that even though I felt like I struck it well, the results were probably not optimal. Now let's try and do some drills where I pause at the top. I'm going to make my normal swing, but I'm just going to give it that little pause at the top, then we'll slow it down, we'll compare some still images and some slow motion swings, and we'll see how it looks. You'll really have to remember in the beginning, you'll have to focus on it, and when you do that, you're more than likely going to start out hitting some bad shots. Number one, because it's foreign, and number two, because you're focused on the pause at the top and you're not thinking about sending the ball down range or whatever it is that you're normally focused on to hit good shots, right? So give yourself a little bit of leeway and some time with this. Shot number one. I felt like I hung up there for quite a while. That was probably, if I watch this back on tape, a slight pause. And I gotta tell you, I can't believe this ball's not in my living room right now. That was absolutely munched. The compression on that golf ball is just stupid. All right, let's go for shot number two here with the pause. Holy hell. Wow. I'm going to pull the tarp down out of the rafters. That strike. You got to be kidding me. Let's go one more. Number three. Even Steven. Yes. Great shot. I just tore that cable tie from my canvas. I just force pulled the cable tie through the canvas and through the pool loop. That's compression. That is compression for you right there. Woo!
You may need to go back and watch this a few times, but I want you to see how this club head exits from the top. At the one on the left, it exits left. At the one on the right, it exits at the top. This clearly shows that the club is moving more on plane the way it's supposed to back into the golf ball with the pause.
Wow. Okay, look, I've been working with this now for a little while. I would say over the course of the last 2 weeks probably, I've been working with adding that little pause at the top of my swing. So when you do this, you might end up getting great results from swing one. You may end up getting that. But more than likely, you're going to start out just like I did. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel weird. You're going to think, this is a load of crap. And maybe if you're out on the range or if you're at your home range, maybe you shank an entire bucket of balls. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. It started out weird for me, and I almost gave up on it. But then I thought, you know what? With anything in life, you've got to give it a real fighting chance. You've got to give it an honest chance. And I feel like so many of the things that could help us, we never give them a chance. We think we do, but it's really 3 balls. Or it's maybe a half a bucket or even a bucket. When in actuality, you probably need to give something a few weeks at least 4 or 5 times out on the range with a bucket of balls or something. You can't just try something, anything, for just a very short time and decide, nope, this is not working, and chuck it. Because it's different, because it's foreign, because it's new. And like I said, if you're not used to having that pause, and we all have that hit instinct from the top, so many of us, it's the right shoulder coming over, it's throwing away your angles, it's really going after it because the ball's not going far enough, and we got to beat the hell out of it even more, right? But with this, it allows your sequencing to fall into place and everything it allows all the stars to align. There are so many swing faults and flaws that a lot of us have that could be fixed, or at least masked, or lessened, or lived with, just by getting our sequencing and our timing correct. And a big way to do that for so many of us that want to hit from the top is to give it that slight pause. And remember, try it for longer than just a couple of balls. Try it for longer than a bucket. And remember to exaggerate the hell out of it. Feel like you leave the club sitting up here and you're going to go grab something to eat, get you a sandwich, watch a couple of movies, go pay some bills, pet the dogs, sit on the park bench, and then come back and swing through and hit the golf ball, right? Everybody, thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support, everything, all the comments. We had a great 2020. We're into 2021 now. Everything is coming up roses. It's looking fantastic for the future of the channel. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Thank you so much for the comments, the thumbs up, all of the subscribers. I appreciate every last one of you out there. Thank you so much for a great 2020. And here's to the next year. See you in the next video.